This is Caps PA announcer Wes Johnson, and you're listening to For the Pod.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to a brand new edition of What the Puck. It is a Washington Capitals podcast, which means it's a podcast about your 2018 Stanley Cup champions. Thank you all for listening to us on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, TuneIn, Player.fm, Overcast, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Facebook, and YouTube. There is so much going on in the NHL and beyond. All the things are happening. Trade deadlines. We've got less than 20 games left for the regular season. Returning players, but luckily enough for this show, Coach Dan and I, neither of us were traded away to a Pens podcast or something like that. We're both still here. Coach Dan, what's going on, man? How you doing?
I don't know if that would be legal.
What, just getting traded away from the podcast we do for free?
Yeah. We were on a Carolina one that one time.
We were. We've guested Baltimore Sports Report. We were a guest on for a little bit. Did the Carolina one. And then that's about it. Nobody else really wants to talk to us.
That's fine. I don't want to talk to them either.
Yeah, but we've got lots of notes, so screw that one guy on Reddit who says we don't prepare for shows. We got plenty of notes to to talk this week. Start off, let's talk about it. The trade deadline has come and gone. The Caps have made two trades, and we've seen Daniel Sprong leave town in exchange for the returning Marcus Johannson, MoJo. DC got their MoJo back.
He's not MoJo.
No?
That's Anthony Mantha's nickname, apparently, which doesn't make any sense, by the way.
What?
There's a I forget which game it was, but Ovechkin's mic'd up, and he calls Anthony Mantha MoJo at one point. So if you notice, the Caps tweeted out when they announced, I'll double check this real quick, but when they announced that Johannson was coming back, they called him JoJo.
JoJo, okay.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't make sense. It should be MoJo because it's Marcus M.A. This is like Rofo Arena all over again. Like it's not. It's Rafo. No wait, it'd be Rofa Arena.
Right. Well, I mean, Ant-Man makes so much more sense for Anthony Mantha, and I also am just calling him the Ansa because since he's been back, the team has been on a roll except for the last two games. But Anthony Mantha is the Ansa because he's been doing great.
You know what's not the answer? These giveaways that they're giving to the Caps fans on Saturday's game, but we'll talk about why that's happening in a little bit. Mantha's nickname, it has to be short for when they can yell it from the bench.
Right.
You know, Ovi, Backy, or end with the IE or Y, apparently.
Yeah, you just got to add the Y or IE onto it, and you're good.
It should be Manth. Just Manth or Ant.
Yeah.
Either way, you're talking about Anthony Mantha. He's been playing great since he came back. Caps have been doing okay, except for the last two games.
Right.
Let's talk about Marcus Johannson.
Well, before you get into that, I just want to add to that real quick. Even though the game against the Blues was an absolutely horrendous game, not a team that looks like they're ready for the playoffs, but that Tom Wilson goal from Anthony Mantha, that pass from Anthony Mantha to Tom Wilson, that might be goal of the year for me for our What the Puckies if we do it this year. That was a beauty of a goal, and I love the pairing of Anthony Mantha and Tom Wilson together. But we can talk about that a little bit later. Just wanted to throw that out there. Loved that goal. Thought that was fantastic. But let's talk about Marcus Johannson coming back to town.
I like the deal. For one, it cost Daniel Sprong, who it just wasn't working out for him in D.C.
He's already flourishing with Seattle. He got his first goal.
He got a goal in his first game.
Yep.
They traded away a 2022 4th-round pick and a 2023 6th-round pick. So you're not giving away nothing you get, and this is not a shot at Daniel Sprong or sort of lessening the impact he had on this team or could have had. But you're not giving away anything to bring in a player with the talent of Marcus Johannson. He's not, necessarily as good as he was or when his first go-around with the team. But you're not giving up a ton or really anything that's going to come back to hurt you by bringing in Marcus Johannson, who's only 31, and he's an unrestricted free agent at the end of the season. So if it doesn't work out, you're like losing him again. But if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. He moves on. To me, this is a high reward, low risk trade. This one I don't think is going to hurt the team in the long run or even short. It's not like he's going to, unless he scores a bunch of own goals, I think this is a great trade.
I was a little wary of Marcus Johannson coming back. He has been hurt a little bit the last season or two. He's been a journeyman around the NHL. He went from the Capitals to the New Jersey Devils to Boston to Buffalo to Minnesota to Seattle. Now he's back with Washington. So I don't know. I feel like early on in his career he was seen as a top 6 forward. I don't know if he still has that potential to be a top 6 forward. I definitely can see him maybe the top 9. I don't know if he's going to be on the 4th line or not, but I have to say his first game back, quite a bold move to put him on the top line with Yevgeny Kuznetsov and Ovechkin. I was shocked to see that they were starting him there, but maybe it's kind of like a welcome back to the family. We have faith in you. That's why we brought you back, and you get to play on the top line. Does he stay there when TJ Oshie comes back? I highly doubt it. He'll probably move down to that 3rd line. But like you said, this is a high reward, low risk. Daniel Sprong really wasn't working out here. Yes, he was very much liked by the team. I know him and Vitek Vanacek were buddies, but that is the nature of the business. Sometimes you do have to go away and join another team. But yeah, I agree with you. I mean, obviously, to me, this move, bringing him in, as well as the other guy that we got, Jonas Larsson, it's a move to kind of show, like, we know who we're going to be facing in the first round. They're going to be young, they're going to be fast, and we need to slow them down. And that's what that signing, I think, really shows.
I mean, like I said, I like the Johannson trade. I think it makes sense. I think they talked about, and maybe it was Tark from The Athletic, Tark Al-Bashir, was talking about how he thinks the Caps were looking for a middle 6 player who can play on both wings and fill in the center spot, and I think they found that in Johannson. I think he played on the wing in Seattle. We know he can play center, so what he brings in is flexibility, and I think having him on the top line was more about not messing with the other lines by having him fill in because Oshie's out. But I think once Oshie comes back, things start to settle a little bit more.
And I think Oshie's already skating, at least in practice.
I haven't seen, but I have 2 kids now, so it's harder for me to do it. But I think it's a situation where you needed someone to come in who was going to be able to fill in that middle 6 role, and I think they wanted someone with flexibility because if they're, Dowd's been in and out of the lineup, Eller's been in and out of the lineup with more COVID-related things. So right now having flexibility with COVID being a reality is important, and I think bringing in someone like Marcus Johannson definitely gives that to you in many ways. He can play on the wing, he can play on the center spot, he can play on the second line, he can play on the 3rd line, he apparently can be put on the 1st line. So this team just has that flexibility that it likely will need when to get through the rest of the regular season and hopefully a nice little run in the playoffs. And then you talked about the other trade they made. They brought in Jonas Larsson from
Arizona.
Right. I don't know why I blanked on that for a second. They brought him in from Arizona. They sent them a 2023 3rd-round pick. A little bit of a higher pick than I probably would have liked to have given up, but it's for not this upcoming offseason, but the next one. So it's, who knows where that pick would be at. I like this trade. The dude's 29. He turns 30 over the summer. He's also scheduled to be an unrestricted free agent. Half of his contract, right now it says $700,000, but Arizona's they're retaining 50% of his salary. So let me go back through. He has his $1.4 million. So if they were to re-sign him, let's say it works out and they want to bring him back, maybe he's replacing Hagelin. If Hagelin decides to hang up the skates because of what happened to his eye or whatever the case may be, this was another low-risk move that I think can only benefit the team. He can play on the wing, he can play in the center, he can play on the probably 3rd line or 4th line. He comes in still recovering from hernia surgery, but he started practice today, so he has first practice with the team today, that being Wednesday. McClellan thinks he probably needs a week of practice before he's playing, so I think, if he's not back, let's look at the schedule real quick. Where are we? Probably not against Buffalo or New Jersey, probably not Carolina, so maybe the first game we see him is on the 3rd of April against Minnesota. That gives him a lot of extra time to I guess the Caps have like a week off. That's weird. Almost. What? No, they have.
We taking a week off too?
I don't know. No, they play Carolina on the 28th, and they'll play again until the 3rd. So they have, it gives him plenty of time to get more practices in to feel better. I see no reason to rush him back right now. If he's coming in, he's going to take the spot. When everybody's healthy, I imagine he takes Axel Janssen-Fjallby's spot. But he's been playing well, so there's no need to rush him back. Let him take his time, and then let's see how it goes. I like both of these trades. I have no problems with what they did. I think the fact that they didn't go out and acquire a goalie, I think as soon as Marc-Andre, and I tweeted this out, as soon as Fleury was off the board or Fleury said no to DC, I don't really know if they were going to look at anybody else. I think their whole plan was it was Fleury or someone of that nature, someone that was just so far ahead of where Vanacek and Samsonov are right now. But when that deal didn't come to fruition, when they realized, okay, this is not going to happen, they're like, you know what? We're sticking with Vitek. And the fact that he's been playing as well as he has been over the, since he came back from being injured, I think that's the guy, obviously, that's the guy they're going with. That's the one that they are determined to see what they have from him. And that doesn't mean in the offseason they're not going to make another move. It doesn't mean that Samsonov is going to get traded in the offseason. It just means that this is their guy right now, and hopefully he can take the spot and run with it, because the best thing for this team is to not have to waste resources on finding a goalie. Unless it's a backup goalie if they decide to move Samsonov out, which I don't know if they should or will during the summer. Hang on to the resources that you have. Looking for other areas you're going to need to fill in, because you've got some guys that are potentially on the way out this offseason, and or guys you might be moving on this offseason that are still under contract, and you want to have that cap flexibility that they're kind of struggling with a little bit right now. I mean, they sent Connor McMichael and Brett Leeson down to Hershey, but those were paper moves, although Leeson I think is actually staying down there.
Yeah.
But McMichael was merely a paper move so that they had the opportunity to potentially send him down to Hershey to compete in the Calder Cup playoffs so he can get more time should he be not playing at DC, or more likely if the Caps would be eliminated, he could go down and play for Hershey. So I like everything that they're doing right now. I didn't think they were going to get a defenseman because they have a lot of them. Even with Van Riemsdyk now, who's on IR, they still have guys that can fill in. They have plenty of guys in the minors they can bring up. I like the moves that they made at the deadline. Would it have been fun to go out and acquire a bigger name like they've done a few times in the past? Yeah, but like we've talked about before, they have their eye towards the future. They're still thinking, as a general manager, McCullough is responsible to have a 4, 5, 6 year plan, and that plan is without Alex Ovechkin and Nick Backstrom and TJ Oshie. And at some point, they're going to need to see what they have with these young guys, and they need to have these young players to then push themselves to the next, not emergence, but the next, what am I trying to say here? The next round of Caps players. We moved on from the Peter Bondra era now, and Ole Kolzig. Now we're getting towards the end of the Alex Ovechkin, Nick Backstrom era, and then up next is Kuznetsov,
the LaPierre era.
The Kuznetsov, LaPierre. Oh God,
LaPierre. Oh my God.
Let's see how he does. But you got Kuznetsov, Wilson, LaPierre, McMichael. We don't know. Hopefully we get a little more to see from Brett Leeson, from Alex Protas. These other players are going to make their Axel Janssen-Fjallby. Other players are going to be able to make their way up that aren't expensive, that are young. I mean, is Janssen-Fjallby the oldest one at 24 of those guys? I think that might be the case. So there's potentially a bright future. Defense, a little scarier, because the only guy under 30 years old right now is Martin Fervari. So defense might be something they start to focus on a little bit in the draft, and potentially acquiring some young defenders. Even though they have a couple of guys in Lucas Johnson, he's 24. Alexiev's 22. Vincent Iorio is 19. But you want to see, and you can acquire guys in trades and whatever else when you're ready to make that next round. And there's going to be some lean years coming up once Ovechkin and Backstrom move on. But I think having yet eye towards the future is the right move. And you're not giving up. Between you and me, I don't see this team right now with the way they're playing as going to win the cup. But who knows? When the playoffs start, crazier things can happen. So, but I don't think it's a situation where they're like, we need that one more guy, and he's going to get us to the cup. And we've seen them do that in the past. It doesn't work. So, I mean, when they won the cup, what did they make? They brought in Kempny. Was he the big trade at the deadline, pretty much?
Yeah, he was definitely a trade line guy. I don't know if he was the big one, but
I don't know if they really brought any big guys. They brought in depth. They brought in some more players, so they had some depth for the playoffs, and I think that's what they did this go around. I like it. I like the moves they made.
Yeah, I like the two guys they brought in. I mean, let's see what happens with Marcus. It's been a long time since he's been in DC. I'm sure Nick Backstrom is happy to have him back. They were Olympians together, so there's definitely a storyline there for that. I want to see what Larson can do, but like you said, he's a guy that we might not see for another week or two because he is coming off of a hernia surgery. But Brian McClellan was saying, hey, we're going to be a little bit more conservative than we were in the past, and that's true that they were bringing in those guys that are kind of in the middle ground. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with this team moving forward. But like you said, this probably is not going to be a cup year. However, that is the exact same thing we said in 2018. So
Trotz almost got fired at Thanksgiving that year, and then they went on to win the cup.
That's right. So it was nice having Braden Holtby back in the building on Sunday. He didn't play. He was injured, but he did get a nice standing ovation from the crowd. He got to wave to him. Very emotional time for those guys. But he said the thing that really helped them in that 2018 postseason was the fact that they had no pressure. They were the underdogs. Like, no one expected them to do anything.
Because they lost the first game in every freaking round.
Yeah, so, I mean, maybe that's the key there, is they just...
To lose?
They need to be the underdogs. They need to be... they need to have no pressure of, we're going to make it to the cup, because, they get to focus on other things. So, maybe that's the key here. So, let's look back at this past week. The Caps, they started off March really strong. Absolutely were doing fantastic, and they had two clunkers of a game at home against Dallas and against the Blues. But I want to talk about the Carolina game and the St. Louis game, because that is like Jekyll and Hyde of this team. That Carolina game, I think, may have been my favorite one to watch this entire year. These guys were fighting like crazy. I was watching this team going like, oh, all right, if they face Carolina in the playoffs, no problems. Like, they got this under control, and then they just lay an egg against the St. Louis Blues. Just an absolutely horrendous game on Tuesday. What do you think it is? Do you think it's just the fact that these guys are at home? They're coming off, only 2 days off and then 4 games on. What happened in between these games? Because to me, it seemed like there was going to be a lot of fight in these guys with Carolina, and then St. Louis rolls around, and it's like
garbage.
An NHL team versus an AHL team. You look, I can't remember what goal it was, but like John Carlson didn't even have like a stick on the ice the entire time. Like, you're supposed to be defending in front of your goalie, and you're just kind of like, your controller became disconnected to your Xbox type of thing.
No, and I think when you look at these two games, you're seeing, like you said, a Jekyll and a Hyde. And I think that's been a bit of a staple of this team this season, where sometimes they're really good and sometimes they're really bad. And that's definitely what we saw against St. Louis. I think that the Dallas game was a little bit of both kind of mixed in there. The Dallas game is almost a fantastic symbol of basically what this team has been this season. And I think some of that, maybe a lot of it, comes down to the coaching staff, in the sense that they're responsible to prepare these guys and get them ready to go. The coaching staff, and I'd say some of the senior veteran players, the core players on this team, it's their responsible to get everybody up ready to go. I hope that they can do the same thing they did during the Cup run and at least make something out of it, out of the season, because they have the talent on paper to do something. What that something is, I have no idea, but it's there, or at least it should be there. And I think that this team, St. Louis is a different, the way they play is different than Carolina, and the matchups do matter in terms of the Caps are a big, bruising, not necessarily the fastest team, which part of me wonders if it's a mistake. They always had their kind of fast teams during the Young Gun era and got blown out in the playoffs, but we're seeing the NHL getting more about speed and high goal scoring, even though to an extent defenses and forwards in the playoffs are a bit more about the physicality and trying to slow you down. And so, we'll see what happens this upcoming playoffs in terms of how that's going to work out for this team. But there's a bit of Jekyll and Hyde thing, and I think that comes down to the coaching staff. And that's why I wonder, if they get another first round bounce out, does McClellan go, you know what? Maybe this isn't working. We need something a little different. We need someone that, we need a Barry Trotz back or someone in that style who maybe is a bit more motivational. That's just that's where my head's at in terms of if this round of playoff games doesn't go well, assuming of course they make the playoffs, if it doesn't go well, that maybe this team is in for another shakeup.
Let's see what the Islanders do with Barry Trotz before we make that decision. One of the calls that the coach made last night against the St. Louis Blues was playing Matt Irwin for 29 seconds in the game.
I mean, he got a nice seat. He didn't pay for it. He gets a free jersey to take home.
That's true, but I think Matt Irwin was a guy that was playing a month or so ago, and I texted you, and I just wrote, "Who is this guy?" And you're like, "He's been on the team this entire season." And I'm like, "Are you sure?" So obviously they're having some cap issues, and that's why they're putting Matt Irwin in. Seems like
that doesn't make sense to me though. Like, he's a defenseman that they've played a bunch. I saw that comment about how there's salary cap issues. So I have a question. If you're in a situation now where the cap has become a problem, that's on you for not planning ahead, and that's on McClellan. He should have planned ahead. You have to plan ahead for injuries. You have to plan ahead. That's why you're supposed to have a certain amount of money left over in your salary cap space. And if you don't, then why are you throwing around contracts to players that you can't afford to do that with? That's why I was surprised that Nick Dowd got re-signed this early. Snively doesn't surprise me because he doesn't cost that much. But I would have rather, if I'm in this position, I would have gone to the offseason and gone, let's see what we have here before we start throwing out contracts and new players. Because I already have a salary cap issue. Maybe Hagelin is either dealt, or if he unfortunately has to retire as a result of the injury, his contract doesn't affect you in the same way anymore. You have that cap space freed up, or he's on long-term injury reserve and his cap hit doesn't affect you. But you've put yourself in this position where you have to play Matt Irwin 29 seconds, which means you're rotating other players and are playing more, and you're messing with your lines. It's a mess up on the organization's part at not being prepared.
Yeah, it shows lack of leadership, I want to say. But obviously every player has their favorites and not their favorites, and Matt Irwin definitely is not Peter Laviolette's favorite guy. So it's kind of like, he's the last-ditch effort. If I have to play him, I will, or he'll at least sit on the bench and hand other guys towels while he watches the game. But it was weird why you would give a guy a sweater and then have him play for 29 seconds. I don't know if I really understand that, but you brought up the goal.
Who did they do it to earlier in the season?
Well, they did it last year to Singenthaler.
Oh, it was last year. Sorry, right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't understand that.
And he requested a trade, which Matt Irwin, I don't know if he's just digging a paycheck or what, but I don't know. Maybe he likes the seat.
I mean, it's a good spot to watch a game.
Yeah.
Let's be honest. I mean, that's a nice spot to watch a game. But they need to figure out this cap issue because this is stupid. You can't be going and you need points. You've got a nice bit of a lead now. Back up on Columbus. You're still 13 games up on them with them having played one less game. You were sort of making a run to try and get into second or third before they had a bit of a stumble against Dallas and St. Louis, but you're only 5 points behind the Rangers, though you have played one more game. You're 7 points behind the Penguins, though you played one less game. So you're 2.5 to 3.5 games out from those guys. You're 10 back of Carolina. Probably not going to catch them. They're pretty good at this point. So that's probably not going to happen. But you have an opportunity to catch Pittsburgh, catch New York, put yourself in a better spot so you're not necessarily going up against Carolina in the first round. You can't afford to blow these games. And when you are potentially losing games because you made dumb roster decisions, that's on you.
Yeah, right now, if the playoffs were to happen on this day, the Caps would be up against Florida in the first round. So that's what they got to be looking at and deciding what team they want to play in the playoffs. So, like you said, real quick, I do want to bring this up since we are talking about the playoffs. Vitek Vanacek seems to be our number one goaltender. I can't blame Brian McClellan and Peter Laviolette going with Vitek since he's been back, which I didn't realize that the injury he had was a concussion. That's what kept him out for a month. So I did not realize it. I thought it was an upper body, like a muscle strain or something like that. But no, he was out with a concussion all of February. And if you look at what he did in January, look what he's done in March so far, he's been absolutely fantastic. So going with VTech, I think at this point is a no-brainer. Let's just hope he can be durable enough in the playoffs, because it was game 1 against Boston. He got taken out. Wasn't it during the warm-ups or first play of the game? He was taken out in game 1, and then Sammy came in, and then Sammy got hurt, and then Craig Anderson came in to finish the season.
Yeah, it's a bit of a weird one.
Yeah, so let's just hope he can be durable. But I mean, he's done great. Take out February, and you've got a solid goaltender there to take you into the playoffs.
I mean, let's hope. Vanecek's big thing has been about staying healthy and staying consistent, and I mean Samsonov as well in terms of the consistency. So let's hope that he can do it, because, I was talking about before, not having to go into the offseason looking for a goalie would be great. It's one less issue that you have to worry about, at least a starting goalie. And he's a younger guy. I mean, he's not like super young. He's not 21, 22, but he's only 26. He turns 27 next January. So this is a guy that could be your starting goalie for 6, 7, 8 years potentially. He's an RFA coming up this offseason, but I can't imagine he's going to get a ton more. $2-3 million maybe a year, which is not bad for a starting goalie. And a team that is going to have cap problems for the next couple of years. I'll take it. Though, after next season, they don't have a defenseman signed that's not named John Carlson. That's currently on the NHL roster, I should say. That's an interesting thing. They are going to have... McClellan's going to have a real busy offseason after next season. They also only have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 forwards on the roster. Dude, he's going to have some sleepless nights. Not like I potentially have it. No, I'm just kidding. So... This team's got a lot of work to do. I mean, they had gone 7-0-1. Now they've lost 2 in a row. Let's get back to that 7-0-1, playing. Let's do that some more instead of the last 2 games. That's the kind of thing. That's what the Caps need to be looking for right now.
Yeah, and with the next 2 games coming up, 2 revenge games for Marcus Johannson. You got Buffalo and
that's
New Jersey.
Dramatic.
That's true, though. Former teams of Marcus Johannson.
That saying it's a revenge game is the same thing when they were like, it's a rivalry night between Washington and Chicago, and you're like, no, it's not. They don't have a rivalry. Like, that's not a thing. None of the teams in DC are rivals with any of the teams in Chicago in any sport.
I just want them to win. Any kind of reason for them to win. I'm trying to get them to win.
I don't think they listen to the show, man.
They might.
I feel like once you get on more than like 3 teams that have traded you, you're kind of like, screw it.
Who wants me?
I'm getting paid. No, not like that. But like, I'm getting paid well. I get to play the game I love, hopefully love or like, or at least can stand. And, well, I haven't been on too many good teams, but he's tried. So, for him, I don't imagine it's too big a deal. I think it'd be kind of fun, but it also kind of depends on how long you're in each one of those teams. But hopefully, the Caps get some wins. They have a couple interesting games coming up, good opportunities to get some points, and hopefully go on another nice little run.
Exactly. So what else should we talk about here in Caps World?
Ooh, let's see. What do we have? Well, apparently the Caps plan to honor Nick Backstrom for playing in his 1,000th NHL game. They'll do that before Saturday's game against New Jersey. Have you seen the giveaway that they're preparing to hand out?
It's an apple.
It's stupid.
It's an apple.
So it's like N1KY for Nicky and 1,000. I think it's done. To me, this is kind of lame. Like, you're telling me, first of all, you saw it coming. At some point, that was going to happen. You couldn't get something better than a stress ball that looks like an apple. I don't know. It just screams a little bit lazy on my part. But their part, to me, that was confusing the way I worded that. I don't know. This is very much a Washington Commanders type move where they're like, someone wasn't paying attention to the calendar and like, last Tuesday, someone looked up and was like, oh, crap, he's going to play in 1,000 games this week. Guys, someone call a custom, they just do T-shirts, but like for imprint, and let's get something going so we can hand out to a bunch of fans. You know what? Stress balls. Everybody likes those. We'll get one of those. Oh, wait, they don't have anything that's hockey related? That apple looks fun. Let's do that one.
The apple is an odd choice. I will admit that.
I don't get it. If I'm missing something here, someone tweet to me at WTP Coach Dan. New Twitter is freaking me out a little bit. It's a little weird, whatever. But have you not seen it?
New Twitter? What's new Twitter?
So on your, like the new layout, sorry, it's not like there's like a new Twitter. That doesn't make any sense. So open Twitter and the new layout.
On my phone?
Unless they change it again. Look, it's like mass. You can't see it. I'm pointing at the thing. Look, it's like massive now. Every tweet has like, it's huge. Like everything seems to have a picture.
Well, people don't read.
Well, I mean, that's a good point, I guess. That is kind of, that's I don't know. The Apple thing is weird to me. Other bit of news, Hagelin, he had eye surgery once. He's going to be undergoing another surgery on his eye, so hopefully that goes well for him.
This is like, I got to say, I mean, I don't know what, we know it was like a stick to the eye, but like this thing with Hagelin, I got to say, like, take the hockey player part out of this. I just hope the guy can like see again. It sounds like this is an extremely sensitive and serious issue he's having. And I mean, they're saying potential of him never playing again.
I mean, that's a possibility. Your eye is a pretty important thing.
Was he has a visor, or he wore a visor?
Yeah,
right?
but players still get hit up in that area, and
Sure, yeah, but I'm just like I'm trying to think of like how I wasn't at practice, of course. I'm wondering how it happened. Like, did it get underneath the visor, and then like did the stick like tilt back? I don't know. I guess I shouldn't theorize without knowing anything. But man, that's just I feel so bad for the guy.
Yeah, I mean it was unfortunate that happened. And, we'll kind of see what happens from there.
Yeah.
Hopefully he can come back and play for his health, or hopefully at least his eyes are okay. I think that's the most important thing, is his health and the safety of him and his eyes. And then, we'll go from there.
So is that it for Caps World?
I think we've covered everything.
All right. Welcome back to DC. Marcus Johannson, make yourself at home. Hope you and Nikki Backstrom can go biking like you did in the old days. We'll see what happens. That's it for what's going on in Caps World. Now let's go down on the farm. All right, everybody, here we go. We're going down on the farm. We are talking Hershey Bears and South Carolina Stingrays. Coach Dan, what's going on down on the farm?
Well, down in Hershey, the Bears went 0-2-1 with losses to Toronto and Lowell and an overtime loss to Belleville. Not a good week for the Hershey Bears. With those losses, they dropped to third in the Atlantic with 66 points, 6 points back of first place Charlotte. They're back at it tonight, hosting Lehigh Valley at the Giant Center before heading on the road to Providence on Friday, then Hartford on Saturday. Down in South Carolina, the Stingrays went 1-2 with a win over Maine, but losses to Worcester and Maine. They're currently 7th in the South Division with 46 points, 34 points back of first place Atlanta. Now they're going to attempt to make something of their season with 3 back-to-back games before we talk again, starting on Friday with all of the games being played against, and I am going to pronounce this wrong, I apologize, both French people and French Canadians. Trois-Rivières? Did I get it? Ryan, tell me if I got it, buddy. In other ECHL news, defenseman Jacob Panetta has been reinstated and will be returning to the Jacksonville Icemen after the team announced this past Friday. Panetta missed 22 games and nearly 2 months after his indefinite suspension for making a racist gesture directed at Stingrays defenseman Jordan Subban. Subban accused Panetta of making a racist gesture towards him in a Twitter post immediately following the game. The Icemen said that Panetta was reinstated following his, and I quote, successful completion of a learning experience in conjunction with the NHL's Player Inclusion Committee, end quote. At the time of his initial suspension, the ECHL office said Panetta would have a conditional opportunity for reinstatement after March 17th if he completed the learning program. That's what's going on down on the farm.
All right, well, hey, it's been a rough week for the Hershey Bears. Hopefully they can get a win, and I think it's bobblehead night, if I'm not mistaken, if I'm reading Twitter correctly, on Wednesday night as we're recording this. So hopefully everybody gets a cool-looking bobblehead from the Hershey Bears. So go Bears, go Stingrays. Now let's go around the NHL and beyond. All right, here we go. The trade deadline has come and gone, so there's lots going on around the NHL, and there's a lot going on with international hockey. So, Coach Dan, catch us all up. What's going on around the NHL and beyond?
Well, let's start in San Jose, where the Sharks signed forward Tomas Hertl to an 8-year, $65.1 million deal. Carolina's Nino Niederreiter was suspended for 1 game for slashing the Caps' Axel Jonsson-Fjällby. I believe Niederreiter has now appealed that 1-game suspension. He's already served said suspension, but it sounds like he was trying to get some of that cash back. Congratulations are in order for Claude Giroux, who played in his 1,000th NHL game. Of course, shortly after this, Philadelphia dealt Giroux a 2025 fifth-round pick and forwards Connor Bunnaman and, I don't know if it's German or Herman, Ruptsov to Florida for forward Owen Tippett, a 2024 first-round pick, and a 2023 third-round pick. And that was getting us started with the trade deadline. Brandon, buckle up, buddy.
Click.
Here we go. Toronto acquired defenseman Mark Giordano and winger Colin Blackwell. Great, off to a great start. Here we go. Toronto. Let me try it again. Toronto acquired defenseman Mark Giordano and winger Colin Blackwell for a 2022 second-round pick, 2023 second-round pick, and a 2024 third-round pick. Ottawa acquired defenseman Travis Hamonic from Vancouver for a 2023 third-round pick. Tampa brought in winger Nick Paul from Ottawa for winger Matthew Joseph and a 2024 fourth-round pick. Seattle, continuing their fire sale, sent defenseman Jeremy Lauzon to Nashville for a 2022 second-round pick. I think by the end of all of the trades, Seattle had more draft picks than they had players in the organization.
I mean, they're doing a fire sale. They just became a team.
I mean, the NHL didn't set them up to succeed quite the way they did Vegas.
Yeah.
Goalie Scott Wedgwood was sent from Arizona to Dallas for a 2023 fourth-round pick. And the Coyotes didn't stop there as they brought in Jack McBain for a 2022 second-round pick. Seattle sent winger Mason Appleton to Winnipeg for a 2023 fourth-round pick. Lots of trades happened this go-round. Centers Brian Little and Nathan Smith were sent from Winnipeg to Arizona for a 2022 fourth-round pick. We talked before about Marc-Andre Fleury. He ended up being on the move. He was sent from Chicago to Minnesota for a 2022 conditional second-round pick. Now, that pick becomes a first-round pick if the Wild make the conference finals and Fleury wins 4 games in the first 2 rounds. And that's why I'm glad the Caps didn't make the trade, because I don't think it would have been smart to potentially give up a first-round pick or even a second-round pick at that point. To clear up their logjam in net, the Wild sent goalie Capo Kakkonen, I think I said it wrong both times, and a 2022 fifth-round pick to San Jose for defenseman Jacob Middleton. The Rangers brought in defenseman Justin Braun for a 2023 third-round pick. Edmonton brought in defenseman Brett Kulak from Montreal for defenseman William Lagesson, a 2022 second-round pick, and a 2024 seventh-round pick.
Need those 7th-round picks.
There you go. Those are important, especially in 2024. Winger Arturi Lekkonen, once rumored to be heading to D.C., went to Colorado for defenseman Justin Barron and a 2024 second-round pick. St. Louis brought in defenseman Nick Leddy, which I think he then got injured in the game against the Caps, and winger Luke Witkowski from Detroit for defenseman Jake Walkman, winger Oscar Sundqvist, and a 2023 second-round pick. Andrew Cogliano, who I didn't even know was still in the league, was sent from San Jose to Colorado for a 2024 fifth-round pick. Winger Tyler Mott was sent to the Rangers with Vancouver getting a 2023 fourth-round pick. Pittsburgh, not being shut out, brought in winger Richard Rackle from Anaheim for wingers Zach Aston Reese, Dominic Simon, goalie Cal Klang, and a 2022 second-round pick. Derek Brassard was sent to Edmonton by Philly for a 2023 fourth-round pick. Winger Max Domi and defenseman Tyler Inamoto were sent to Carolina by Columbus for defenseman Aiden Hreshchuk. Now, to make this deal work, Florida got forward Igor Korshkov from Carolina, and a 2022 sixth-round pick from Columbus, who is also retaining 25% of Domi's contract. Detroit sent winger Vladislav Nemsnikov to Dallas for a 2022 fourth-round pick. We're almost done. Winnipeg sent winger Andrew Kopp and a 2023 sixth-round pick to the Rangers for center Morgan Barron. second-round picks in 2022 and 2023, and a 2023 fifth-round pick. And finally, Anaheim brought in winger Yevgeny Dadonov and a 2023 second-round pick from Vegas for defenseman John Moore and Ryan Kessler. Now, this was a salary dump by Vegas, and the deal got into a little bit of trouble with the league reviewing it as a possible no-trade clause violation. Now, my understanding is that Dadonov had a 10-team no-trade clause, which was part of his deal when he was in Ottawa and then was traded to Vegas this past summer. Apparently, this go-round, his 10-team no-trade clause was not observed properly prior to the trade. And while we were recording, the NHL announced that the trade was being canceled as it violated his no-trade clause. So that trade, not happening.
All right, so before we go on to the international stuff, I do have to ask.
I'm going to let you do that part because I'm mad. No, I'm just kidding. I'll do it.
So here's something I'm trying to like wrap my brain around. The NHL and like the NFL, their drafts are entirely different. Everybody in the NFL draft is going to make a huge impact that year. Maybe not a huge impact. They'll make some sort of impact that year. Something
will happen.
For the most part. But like all of these guys that are going like for 4th round picks, 5th round picks, I mean, it's like playing the lottery. Like there's a good chance, you know, you're not going to win the Powerball with a 4th round pick, 5th round pick. You might, but really this is like luck of the draw at this point. So when people are giving away these draft picks or picking up these draft picks, does it really matter?
It could. You never know. I mean, if you have a good scouting staff, you might actually pick up somebody who's pretty good in one of these late rounds.
I mean, I guess so. It's so odd to me just because I guess because of the way the Caps are run. Brian McClellan, I mean, he's made it very obvious that the draft does not, or at least it hasn't in the past, matter much to him. It's just odd to me because Brian McClellan
is nuts.
At least in the past, has given away these draft picks and doesn't care about the draft. He wants a veteran guy in there to make an impact now. But going into the future, with past the OV era, when it's the LaPierre, they're going to need some of these draft picks because they're going to need these young guys. But again, it's just kind of like a luck of the draw. I mean,
to an extent, yeah, no, it definitely is in terms of those later rounds. I mean, really anything after the first round is, even the first round. I mean, you've gone back and seen so many times guys who are drafted in the first round that don't make it in the league or never show up. Sasha Pakluk, defenseman, played for Cornell. First round pick by the Caps. Never played in the NHL. You know, these things happen. So, you know, the more picks you have, I guess statistically, the better opportunity you have to have a couple players, you know, matter. Or you acquire a lot of these picks to then turn around and send a couple of them to acquire an NHL player. Who knows what's going to happen. But let's get
teams that are like rebuilding.
Yeah, which the Caps, I don't know if they'll be rebuilding so much as they'll be somewhere between rebuilding and retooling, I think, after the Ovechkin-Backstrom era.
Okay.
That'd be my guess. In international news, due to Russia and Belarus being removed from the upcoming World Championship tournament, thanks to Putin's ongoing and unprovoked war against the Ukraine, the IIHF Council determined that France and Austria, the next ranked countries in the 2021 IIHF Men's World Ranking, will take part in the 2022 Ice Hockey World Championship. France will replace Russia in Group A in Helsinki, and Austria will replace Belarus in Group B in Tempe. When I saw the notes you wrote first, I was like, in Tempe, Arizona?
I know, right?
What's happening? The tournament will take place in both of those cities, not Arizona, by the way. They're both in Finland from May 13th through the 29th.
I love the World Championship, so this is going to be it's going to be interesting to see how France and Austria, they would not have been in this tournament. They now have a chance to
get knocked out in an earlier round.
That's true. That too, but you know, we'll see what happens.
Sorry, that was mean but funny. Anyways, the 2022 IIHF World Junior Championship, which had to be canceled in December due to outbreaks of COVID, is now planned to take place in August from the 9th to the 20th. Now, as of this recording, Rogers Place in Edmonton, which is in Alberta, is likely the venue for all of those games. The IIHF Council and USA Hockey announced a few weeks ago that the 2022 Ice Hockey U18 Women's World Championship, that's a mouthful, originally canceled also due to COVID, will actually be taking place now in the U.S. in Madison and Middleton, Wisconsin from June 6th to the 13th. The 2,200-seat LeBond Ice Arena in Madison, which is home of the University of Wisconsin women's ice hockey team, is planned as the venue for Group A of the preliminary round, as well as the quarterfinal, semifinals, and medal games. The 2,600-seat Bob Souter's Capitol Ice Arena in Middleton, which is home of the USHL's Madison Capitals with an O, not an A, and owned by current Dallas Stars player Ryan Suter, is planned as the home of Group B of the preliminary round and venue for all other classification games. The top 4 seeded teams in U.S., Canada, Finland, and Sweden will compete in Group A, while the Czech Republic, Switzerland, Germany, and Slovakia will play in Group B. What's up with Group A being the group of death? Good Lord.
Right? Yeah, I know. So I got to say, I did not know that if you are a current NHL player, you could own a minor league team that Ryan Suter's doing, the USHL's Madison Capitals.
That's like a minor, there's no connection between that and an NHL team.
I know there's no connection, but I didn't even know you could do that. Like, I knew Michael Bublé had a minor league team in Vancouver that he's the owner of. Like, if I was an NHL player and I did have enough money like Ryan Suter, I would definitely be starting my own team. How cool would that be? Be like, I know I'm playing right now, but I also own this team over in what is it? Madison, Wisconsin. Like, I don't really think of Wisconsin as like the hotbed for hockey, but apparently it is.
Well, where's Ryan Suter from? That's the important thing. Also, Bublé is a minority owner of the Vancouver Giants.
They have a great logo.
That's true. Suter he went to University of Wisconsin in Madison, and he's from Madison, Wisconsin. There you go.
No, there you go.
That answers that question.
Cool.
The Ohio State University won there. Isn't that how they do it when they do like the Monday Night Football games and they ask players? It's Ohio State or Miami, right? The University of Miami. Anyways,
yeah.
I don't know why we went off on this random tangent. Anyways, Ohio State University won their first national title in women's hockey in their first ever appearance in the championship game of the Frozen Four, defeating Minnesota Duluth 3-2. So congratulations to them. That's pretty cool. That's the news for the past week in the NHL and beyond.
So much going on in the world of hocky.
Well,
absolutely
now it's going
love
to slow
see
down
it.
with the trade deadline over.
Trade deadline's over. Around the NHL won't be as crowded as it was this time. But let's see how many of these trades will be impacting teams. Which teams made themselves stronger and making a final push for the playoffs? What trade is going to make a team go into the postseason and go for a deep run? Will it be the Capitals? Will it be somebody else? Only time will tell, but we'll be right there along with you as we figure that out. So, Coach Dan, is that the show for this week?
Yeah, man. Wrap it up. I'm doing the finger spin thing. It means wrap it up, of course.
All right, guys. Well, if you want to continue the conversation with Coach Dan or I, you can. It's real easy. All you have to do is tweet to either one of us. You can tweet to me at Brando Cash. Coach Dan, where can people tweet to you at?
The weird new Twitter at WTP Coach Dan, talking all kinds of Capitals related stuff. Also, when they're talking about Arsenal Football Club, Bills, the Commanders, who I feel like have consistently shot themselves in the foot recently. Not even talking about Carson Wentz, but like Anheuser-Busch is like, see ya. And then now they've somehow botched the announcement of the new radio station for their games. They're not going to be on ESPN 980 anymore. They haven't announced who's hosting it now. It's probably going to be something that you can only reach in and around FedEx Field, that somehow Snyder will make you pay for because he's a schmuck. Moving on. You also find me on there talking about other sports from time to time, but that's on Twitter at WTP Coach Dan. But hey, if you've enjoyed the show, go ahead and check us out on Facebook at facebook.com/whatthepuckpod. It's where you find out when new shows are coming out, as well as all sorts of other things related to the Washington Capitals, the Hershey Bears, South Carolina Stingrays, Hershey Cubs, and other things that Brandon finds funny that pop into his head in the wide world of hockey. By the way, Brandon, I meant to bring this up before we're going down to the farm real quick. By the way, facebook.com/whatthepuckpod. The ECHL used to be the East Coast Hockey League, and it was the third tier of hockey in the United States in terms of like the minor leagues, right? So you're like, at that point, if you're comparing it to baseball, it's AA. But because they have teams no longer on the East Coast, they're throughout the country, and I believe in Canada, we need a new name for the ECHL.
Well, they dropped that's what it stood for. It's kind of like MTV.
So it's the Hockey League? Like, I don't understand. Like, what's the ECHL?
No, they're just called ECHL.
That's stupid.
It doesn't stand for anything. It's just letters. It's like MTV, KFC, WWE.
All right, hold on.
Doesn't matter.
All of that stands literally for, each one of those letters stands for a word.
No,
which one?
not
Okay,
anymore.
which ones did you say?
I said MTV.
Okay, that's music television, which actually isn't anymore because all they do is have reality shows. But that's no,
right.
but that's, it should have changed it to modern television.
Well, if it was modern television, they just would call it YouTube.
That's true, but that's not the point. Okay, continue on. Which is WWE, World Wrestling Entertainment, because they lost to the Pandas.
Right, but they are no longer. They don't consider themselves wrestling; they're entertainment. So they're WWE, as in like
World Wrestling
they have,
Entertainment. Entertainment's
no,
the last
they
one.
have WWE. They have WWE Studios. So it's like they do movies now. They have WWE Music. They have a record label. So WWE is like the umbrella.
Yeah, World Wrestling Entertainment. They're saying, we're entertainment. We know. It's the third freaking word in your name. Moving on. KFC, Kentucky Fried Chicken. ECHL, Hockey League. It makes no sense. They should be the BHL, because you got the A and then the B. I don't know what the B stands for, but that works.
Brandon.
The Brandon Hockey League. There you go.
Yeah.
We need the Baltimore Hockey League. We need a we need a bet. I'm looking this up. Who is the commissioner for the ECHL? This would have made way more sense if I brought it up when I intended to. Okay, Ryan Krellin. Apparently, man, you can find anything on the internet. Ryan Krellin. Fix this. Can we get a real league name? And then can we also have a team in Baltimore? Okay, I'm just asking for, me. But anyways, I've gone completely off, and I don't even know how to do my segue to the next bit. But Brandon, earlier I was talking about the Bills and the Commanders. You happen to be a fan of the Baltimore Ravens. You happen to do a podcast about said team. If people also happen to have made the mistake in following the Baltimore Ravens, is there a certain is there a certain podcast they should listen to?
That's right. You can listen to me and my buddy Josh, who did text me today going, hey, we podcasting soon? Free agency, man. We got to cover it. My podcast called The Call. It's the Baltimore Ravens podcast. Yeah, Michael Pierce, Patrick Ricard re-signed. Almost had Zardarius Smith, and he backed out on a deal. Why am I telling you this? Go listen to my Ravens podcast. We'll talk about it. So you can go listen to that show wherever you listen to this show. So this show, What the Puck? Yeah, any app that you use to listen to this
any
show,
single
you can listen
one.
To that show. Any of them. We're on all of them.
As long as we
okay?
put in the right file name.
Yeah. Hey, I didn't know.
I didn't either.
Yeah, Coach Dan figured it out in January.
I just screwed around and eventually got it to work.
Now, we do this show for free. You listen, stream, and download for free on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, TuneIn, Player.fm, Overcast, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Facebook, and YouTube. All we ask in return is for you to please spread the word about the show. Write us an Apple Podcast review, rate us over on Spotify, and then let people know on Facebook and Twitter and Tumblr and Pinterest and Instagram and Reddit and Snapchat and Twitch and TikTok. Anywhere you're social on the web or with your phone, say, I'm a Washington Capitals fan. I listen to What the Puck, and you should too. So let's go over the games until we talk again. We got 3 games until we talk again. On Friday, March 25th, Maryland Day, the Capitals are up against Buffalo in Buffalo. That game's at 7 o'clock, and that is on NBC Sports Washington. Then they take a quick flight home to D.C., and they're up against the New Jersey Devils. That game, again, is at 7 o'clock, and it's on NBC Sports Washington. And then on Monday, March 28th, it's a preview of next year's Stadium Series. Caps welcome the Carolina Hurricanes to town. That game is on NBC Sports Washington as well as the NHL Network. Now, like I said, the game on the 18th was one of my favorites to watch of the year. Absolutely fantastic game. Is this another preview of the Stanley Cup playoffs? Carolina versus the Capitals. We will be discussing all of that next week. So make sure you stay subscribed. Make sure you give us a like over on Facebook. Do all that good stuff. So that is pretty much it for the show this week. Everybody, say it loud, say it proud. Let's go, Caps!
This has been a production of Brando Cash Entertainment. Music by DJ Wolfman. Voiceover by Sarah Jacks. For more information, go to brandocash.com.